How's it hanging, dudes? My name is Sean and welcome to another Cyberpunk 2077 video. For those of you following the channel closely, I have another ultimate cyberware guide coming soon, so make sure you let me know what augmentations you want to learn about for next time. That video is coming up. But as for today, I wanted to go through the 48-minute gameplay again. Like most of you, I am still constantly looking through the gameplay, and it's becoming kind of like an obsession, really. It's practically frame by frame, man, at this point. And see, in the nooks and crannies of Night City, you can learn all sorts of information that are easily overlooked. Just in the very early gameplay, you can discover some very telling things. You will find a whole host of tiny world-building details that shine light on the many nuances that firmly root the story within Mike Pondsmith's original lore while simultaneously interweaving the two. I mean, there's so many subtleties just riddled throughout the entire gameplay. So today, I decided to decipher all this and pick apart just a few. So we have 5 overlooked and underappreciated things you missed from the release gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077. This, of course, is all based on my opinion, and I encourage you to share your own discoveries down below. Now let me start by saying that CDPR does a great job at letting what's on the screen show for itself, while oftentimes narrating to you relevant but totally different information about a similar topic being shown. Many previous early pre-launch gameplays from the other companies tend to narrate exactly what is happening on screen. Naturally, given the huge scope of this game, it would be impossible to talk about everything because there is simply too much, let alone giving away too much at the same time that, while it's still in development and changes are still to come. It just doesn't make sense to do that. But they still don't hold our hand, leading to a multitude of overlooked aspects, and I thank them for that. So seemingly some random placed objects that fit so naturally against the city's neon backdrop constantly get panned over. Whoever is playing this 48 minutes of gameplay is taking good care not to linger for too long on any one thing, while the narrator focuses on predetermined specific scripts that not really alert you to everything that is happening on screen at that moment in time. This is a very well pre-coordinated and thought out effort, and just further goes to show the amount of subtle but extreme care that is behind the crafting of this awesome game. And now remember that this footage is actual gameplay that is very much still an ongoing work in progress. And as of the time of this recording, I'm sure the development has come a long way already since CDPR released this jaw-dropping epicness, however many months ago. It's like at 14 million views. So just bear that in mind as we go forward, and there will be things that I missed, so please hop down in the comments below and let me know anything that you have found, including timestamps of the full gameplay, and help me out, fill me in. I'm sure we can easily make a follow-up to this video. And I really mean it. If you see any little subtle thing that nobody else is talking about or overlooking, just comment it and it'll probably be referenced on screen. Alright, so we'll be going from, in my opinion, the least interesting to the most interesting. So anyway,
let's just jump into it.
Alright, so first up and most obvious in my opinion has to do with the massive open world that CDPR has created meticulously by hand. There are numerous times shown in the gameplay where you can get a good look at these sky bridges. Like I said, these are obvious but rarely discussed. There are obvious massive skyscrapers littering the city, and there are even larger mega buildings that act as self-contained communities of their own. So when traversing from building to building, you immediately think, I'm gonna hop in Jackie's ride and be there in no time, which in many cases is plausible. But what happens when you can't get into a building from the ground floor? You can't shoot or hack your way in from the bottom up. All the entrances are blocked, and you don't have the tech to get through. Well, you go up. These sky bridges aren't there for just holding up these pretty glowing advertisements. They will be utilized as shortcuts and alternate routes. The vast amount of passageways between these various floors of these buildings could make it easy to lose anyone chasing after you. Hell, you might even get lost yourself if you don't know what you're doing or don't have some sort of mini-map augmentation, right? I think it's also safe to assume these floating alleyways will be the only route to take to your destination at certain times in the game. This is a vertical world, and your choo-choo filled car can't get you everywhere. And again, it's obvious, but not very many people are talking about it. So it made the list. And coming in second on our list is another obvious one, but still I see less people talking about it, and I kinda understand why. There is this part of the gameplay, well here, I'll just play the clip for you and let's see if you catch what I'm talking about. and also why it's so easily overlooked. And no, I ain't talking about the Koreznikov either.
Okay, things are about to get heated. We'll take a reflex booster that temporarily allows us to use the Koreznikov ability.
Okay, so did you catch it? It's easily overshadowed by the gruesome gravity of the bleak situation at hand. You see the gang known as the Scavengers, and that's exactly what they are doing here, and in mid-operation you can see this guy rolling out a corpse like it's garbage. So just to give quick context, the Scavengers abduct or have clients send their victims for disassembling. They are mainly after rare or expensive cyberware and sometimes organs that they can sell on the lucrative black market, seeing as the everyday person just simply can't afford the premium healthcare and then have to resort to underground ripper docks for their discounted augmentations. So keep in mind that the first time on screen in all of its guttural intensity is all that most people can think about at first, while at the same moment in time this is so commonplace for V, who is just there to do a job. So when you have less than 3 or 4 frames of choices like these, like this right here, that quickly pops up. You don't really have the time to assess this part of the game. These little choices are everywhere and they just don't play out by the click of a button like most games. There is also a split second where V could pick up some loot. Maybe it's the Scav's weapon or one of the weapons submerged in the water, I don't know. But let's assume for this 48-minute demonstration, they have V souped up and very stealthy and strong, which is why she got so close and stayed so quiet, and then you have to choose quickly, you know, what's presented, and this guy did it very, very quickly, right? You almost don't catch it. If the player would have chosen the non-lethal way, then could you have slowly taken them all out one by one, or would the others catch on? Some games that seems to be a problem. Furthermore, what if you are just starting and your player isn't souped up? Would you even be able to get that close before a shootout would happen? Would more implants or more neuroware like open up more options? How many parts in the environment can be used like the water here? The ability to dictate and manipulate how events can be played out around you is littered through this gameplay, and there are many examples that could be shown. They have literally reimagined the dialogue and options system. So like I said, this one's obvious, but the potential seems groundbreaking and no one is talking about it. But some people have, but not really like in depth. And we've kind of talked about it for too long and we're on number 2, so let's move on. Definitely something to keep a watch out for. Just another thing that sets this development team apart from everybody else. Alright, so third has to do with immersion. CDPR has stated that first and foremost, this is a story-focused, first-person oriented action RPG with a fluid combat system and an emphasis on full immersion. Immersion is the cornerstone of this game, and everything has a reason to exist in this world. And on top of that, it's relevant to the lore. So yeah, everything, even your ammo count and health needs to make sense for why you're seeing it on screen, and I'll put some examples up here for you. While other games simply have a similar HUD or heads-up display interface just plastered on the screen with a health bar and ammo count with no reasoning for it, absolutely no lore-based reason for being there other than it's so commonplace among gamers that we just don't second guess it, so developers don't second guess putting it in. It's something that never had to be rethunk after all, but CD Projekt Red did that. After all, you want to see if you're getting low on ammo, even if it doesn't make much sense to have it right there in your face. Well, because of the versatility of the cyberpunk genre, they have a reason for this. So to put it simply, you have a biomonitor and other extensive neuroware and implants that enable you to see all of these things on screen, even video calls, pop-ups before your very eyes with the right tech. If you aren't in a fight, then you won't see the HUD on screen, and that makes sense. You see somebody's eyes light up in the distance, and there's definitely more going on right underneath the surface than what you actually know. And don't forget, the more that's installed, the more you will know. So make sure to stay up on all the current upgrades, or you will definitely be behind the competition, my dude, that's for sure. Fourth up is something that seems decorative on the surface and something you should keep an eye out for. Advertisement. Night City's citizens, much like in our own day-to-day life, often get bombarded with ads non-stop, either selling you any product under the sun or it's trying to sell you some idealistic belief. This is pure propaganda that has actually evolved through the ages and has expertly morphed to strip you of all your hard-earned eddies. You will constantly find yourself wanting to buy from a vending machine just to see everything, potentially waste your wages on gambling on a boxing match that just looks too cool to resist, right? Street vendors work tirelessly to gain your attention, while a joy boy or a joy girl is only one click away. But then comes along a job that you have to do. You just can't pass it up, right? And subsequently, you need a quick cyberware upgrade to do the job, but sadly, now you're out of eddies, and the job has to be put off, and you have to resort to that lesser work to earn, simply because you are constantly being coerced into spending beyond your means. Gangs operate with near full impunity. You notice that cops, military, and government officials didn't go in to save V's client. V had to. That's the reason why she was there. She's a solo. Because if Trauma Team can't get to you, then there are only the solos to be had. Gangs make the corporate elite too much money to be fully eradicated or have laws enforced upon them, as much as they do hate each other. Shiny ad signs aren't all that subconsciously controls you either. Graffiti littered on the walls is a painful truth of the poverty and overall quality of life. The concrete walls are covered with normal street art as well as a more sinister form of graffiti. In this shot you can see that the Maelstrom gang hideout has these tags in numerous places. It's safe to assume each gang will mark their territory accordingly so make sure you pay attention to every covered wall. I mean, after all, you never know what turf you're blindly walking into, right? Adverts and graffiti expose the monetary grip that corporate society has. This grip keeps poverty high, gang profits even higher, and the corporate stranglehold only further solidifies. Okay, so this final one will either be like extremely eye-opening for you, or it'll at the very least humor you as to just like what sort of perfectionist CDPR actually is, right? And no one has talked about this one, not that I can remember and not that I've seen recently anyway. Fifth and last up is something so overlooked and so inconspicuous and offers very little at first glance, if you even notice it. This may seem odd and weirdly placed so high up on the list, but just hear me out, alright? So V comes out of her apartment and sees the ancestor of the humans from WALL-E before walking up to the balcony, and for a brief second, just a moment, you can see a pair of sneakers tied by the laces and hung from the power line. Remember what I said about world building? This tiny detail tells us so much. This really shows that CDPR has gone through great lengths to fully immerse us into this setting. Keep in mind, this is a tech-based dystopian future of our very own existence, and little subtle things like this really brings us some cultural familiarity. Cultural familiarity to you, and can be easily seen as a natural progression of our future self while maintaining cultural tropes of times past. In reality, shoes over power lines originates on the West Coast around Los Angeles and in the early 70s, and often color-coded to signify a certain gang's territory or turf. It also let people know that the neighborhood wasn't safe and usually impoverished. In a game where gangs control real aspects of society, this forgettable callback is perfectly suitable. These particular shoes can be found in the district of Watson, which houses many Asians, new immigrants, and other minorities. This is a poor place, and these shoes are eerily reminiscent of an accurate future of which we could all live in. It really does seem like America in the year 2077 once you find out all these little details and you put them all together. Imagine playing it and you just seeing all of these nice little cultural references that make you think like you're walking downtown in a big city, but in the future. It's these added extra real life references and tidbits hidden away that add so much believability that others would simply not care to include, other developers that is, other companies. This is the kind of subtle attention to realistically believable detail that sets this development team apart and a whole head and shoulders above the rest. That one small detail conveys so much. It wouldn't take long and soon you would easily get lost in this immersive world. CD Projekt Red has given us our own personal brain dance. I, for one, am going to enjoy it thoroughly. So that's about it, guys. 5 little details that in my opinion are overlooked or underappreciated. I know there's some that I miss, and let me know any details that you come across and I'll reference your find in the next video when we do something like this again. I genuinely hope you learned something from today's video or found anything worthwhile. And if you think I earned your like and subscription, I'd very much appreciate it. I know I say this in every video, but I do mean it. And if you think I can improve in any way, please don't hesitate to fill me in. And I don't actually get many dislikes, but if you do, I'd like to know why, because I can't get better if I don't know, what I'm doing wrong, right? Or if I have any info that's a mistake, right? I need to know these things. I'm just trying to make better content for you guys overall. And if you hold daily staring contests with your dog, then smash the like and subscribe if you're new, and until next time, piss off.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more ass than a toilet seat. 3 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I met a bad bitch last night in the D. Let me tell you how I made her leave with me. Conversation and Hennessy. I've been to the motherfucking mountaintop.